Sudan hides over 200 steep pyramids, royal tombs packed with treasures, and a history of treasure hunters blowing off their tops. And Gunung Padang sits on an old volcano with stone terraces and underground chambers, and some say could be the oldest pyramid ever. These are ancient pyramids found outside Egypt that no one talks about. The Meroë pyramids in Sudan, about 150 miles north of Khartoum, were built as royal tombs between about 300 BCE and 350 CE. Unlike Egypt's oversized smooth pyramids, Meroës are smaller, around 20 to 30 meters tall. That's like the 6 to 10 story building. They have really steep sides, giving them a very sharp look. We've got more than 200 pyramids packed across 3 sites, north, west, and south. Most have small chapels in front where people made offerings, and inside are items like jewelry, pottery, and statues, all of which were belongings believed to be taken to the afterlife. There are also carvings on the walls of elephants and gazelles, as well as Kushite kings. There's also writing, but they don't know exactly what it says. It's written in Meroitic, the ancient language that was spoken in the city. The site has some drama as well. In the 1800s, a treasure hunter blew off the tops of over 40 of these pyramids looking for gold, so unfortunately, a lot got wrecked. Gunung Padang is this stepped pyramid-like site sitting on an old volcano in Java. It has 5 flat terraces made of volcanic rock blocks, kind of like giant stone steps carved into a mountain. Some researchers think the lowest layer could be 14,000 to 25,000 years old, which would make it older than any pyramid we know of. Insane if that turns out to be true, but it's controversial. A lot of archaeologists say this theory relies too much on sketchy carbon dating, and parts of it might just be natural rocks molded by people, not built by them. Still, surveys in the 80s and more recent radar scans show clearly human work, stone terraces, possible chambers below ground, and there's also evidence that was built in different phases over time. So, at the very least, some serious construction happened, even if we don't know exactly when or why. Right in Rome, next to the old city wall, there's a strange site, the Pyramid of Cestius, built between 18 and 12 BCE for a Roman magistrate named Gaius Cestius. It's about 37 meters tall, and its base is almost 30 meters square. So it's noticeably huge, with that classic pyramid type shape, made from brick and then covered with shiny white marble slabs. It survived Rome's chaos over the centuries, which of course there was a lot of. They built city walls around it in the 3rd century, giving it a fortress-like vibe, and inside is just one room. It held Cestius's body as well as his offerings. It's fun kind of picturing ancient Romans walking past, glancing at this odd Egyptian-looking monument right next to all their temples and regular-looking streets. Shows how much they were obsessed with Egyptian style after conquering Egypt. Today, it still steals the show in that neighborhood. Looking at images online, it almost looks like it was just photoshopped in. Out in the plains of Argolis, Greece, there's a tiny cluster of pyramid-shaped stone structures, with the most famous being the Pyramid of Hellinikon. Nobody's 100% sure why they exist, but researchers think it was built somewhere between 2500 BCE and 460 BCE, making it one of the oldest pyramid-like buildings in Europe. The structure is built from massive gray limestone blocks stacked without mortar, but what was the point of this thing, you ask? Why was there an ancient pyramid in Greece? Well, some historians think it was a tomb, maybe a watchtower, because of its position on a hill that overlooks the area. Even though it's technically a pyramid, it is very different from Egyptian ones. It's tiny and blocky, not smooth, and there's no evidence of any chambers on the inside. It seems more like a solid, functional building rather than, a flashy royal tomb. Archaeologists have tried thermoluminescence dating on the stones, but results are mixed. Some tests seem to show the 3rd millennium BCE, others lean toward the later part of the 1st millennium BCE, so the mystery remains. On Tenerife in the Canary Islands, there are a bunch of rectangular pyramids made from lava stone, called the Pyramids of Güímar. There's 6 of them. They're not huge, only about 12 meters tall or about 39 feet, but they're very noticeable. Nobody agrees exactly why they were built. Some say they were just stacking stones to clear farmland in the 19th century, but that seems unlikely when you take this next part into consideration: their placement. The sun rises over the tallest pyramid at the summer solstice and sets between two of them at the winter solstice, so whoever made them was paying attention to the sky. The stones were stacked carefully without any mortar, and the terraces are level, which isn't easy when you're working with lava rock. So maybe there was something more going on than just clearing out land. Maybe they wanted markers for ceremonies, or, maybe someone would just like lining things up with the sun. Out by the Nile in northern Sudan, there's a collection of at least 80 small pyramids called the Sedeinga Pyramids, built around 1 BCE. These are Kushite pyramids, which means they were made by the same civilization that ruled Egypt as the 25th dynasty for a while. They're tiny compared to Egyptian pyramids. Most are under 23 feet, or about 7 meters, and some are barely even a meter high. Each one was a tomb for a member of the royal family. The construction is very precise, limestone blocks stacked, again without mortar, and a lot of them have little chapels or carvings at the base. Some have small round rooms inside, something you don't see in Egypt. Egyptian pyramids, they have rooms inside them obviously, but not round ones. That detail is strictly Nubian, but the pyramid shape was copied from Egypt, so there's a mix of influences here. A lot of these pyramids were looted though. A bunch of them are also just in ruins, but thankfully there are also plenty still standing. They're way less famous than Giza, but seeing so many pyramids packed into one area, it's definitely pretty cool. In October of 2024, it was announced that archaeologists had found a lost Maya city hidden under the jungle in Campeche, Mexico. They used LiDAR to spot the outline of a huge Mayan city called Valeriana. It covers about 47 square miles and has thousands of buildings, temples, pyramids, plazas, ball courts, reservoirs. At its peak, between 750 and 850 CE, it might have had 30 to 50,000 people living there. The biggest pyramids are arranged in what's called an igloo, a setup the Maya used to track the sun during solstices and equinoxes. So it wasn't just a neighborhood full of houses, people came here for ceremonies. And the whole place was built to track the sun. The LiDAR scans also show roads connecting different plazas and pyramids, plus terraced land for farming. The whole city is still buried under thick layers of jungle, but hopefully one day someone will get the funding to actually get in there and explore the place. Sitting on a ridge southeast of Lake Titicaca, Palaspata was built by the Tiwanaku civilization around 1,000 years ago. The Tiwanaku civilization controlled one of the most powerful societies in South America. It's considered a forerunner of the Inca Empire, but as Penn State archaeologist Jose Capriles put it, much about the Tiwanaku civilization remains unknown. Their society collapsed sometime around 1000 CE and was a ruin by the time the Incas conquered the Andes in the 15th century, end quote. In 2024, researchers announced they'd found a previously unknown Tiwanaku site about 135 miles south of the main ruins. The position of the site is actually very strategic, Capriles said. It sat right where 3 trade routes met. There was llama herding country to the west, highlands around Lake Titicaca to the north, and there was maize growing to the east. Known as Palaspata, it's about the size of a city block with 15 rooms arranged around a courtyard that's sunken into the ground. The layout lines up with the sunrise at the equinox, which probably made the site a kind of ceremonial stop along trade routes. Deep in Bolivia's Amazon, archaeologists found a whole network of urban sites built by the Casarabe culture, who were around between roughly 500 and 1400. These places have stepped pyramids made of earth and clay. Around them are flat platforms where people probably did ceremonies, and there are wide causeways cut through the jungle for miles, connecting one settlement to another. There are also huge reservoirs big enough to store water for hundreds or thousands of people. Before these discoveries, most researchers thought the southwestern Amazon couldn't really support big, complex societies, but the Casarabe flipped that idea on its head. In southern Iraq, way back around 2100 BCE, a king named Ur-Nammu built the Ziggurat of Ur. Ur-Nammu was the ruler of the city of Ur, and he wanted a giant temple to honor the moon god Nana, basically the deity people prayed to for guidance, protection, and good harvests. The Ziggurat of Ur is like a giant staircase made of mud bricks, stacked on top of each other, leading to a temple at the very top where only priests and the king were allowed to go. Back when it was built, the whole pyramid would have been covered in white plaster, which would have made it shine in the desert sun and stand out for miles. The ziggurat was the center of the city of Ur, and surrounding it were courtyards and smaller buildings where people ran the city, held meetings, carried out political business. Even though it's only about 30 meters tall, it's impressive when you realize it was made from simple sun-dried bricks and built by hand, without cranes or machines. People had to move thousands of heavy bricks, stack them, and make sure everything was lined up. I've been your host, James. I will catch you, yes, you specifically, in the next video.